Hi guys, I'm Mark and today we're gonna create a process system in practice. You can simply press a key and switch from the player to a possessible object and also the reverse. Okay, I will go a little bit fast, but it's very easy, so let's get started. Okay guys, so the first thing to do is basically to go in the viewport and create our blueprint component, okay, our process component. The second thing is to create our pawn, okay, our possessible object, okay, and now in the process component, we can open it. We can use it later, okay, for our possessible object, is a component. So we want to create two functions, simply active possessible object and the active possessible object. In the active possessible object, we want to get owner, okay, the owner of this component. And also with this, we want simply to set tick enable, okay? And we want to enable it. Okay, so now the second thing to do is basically to place a new node cast to pawn. We simply use it to control that is a pawn and not other thing. And we use as pawn, okay, to simply get controller. Okay, we get the controller of that pawn. With this, we do another cast to player controller, and with as player controller, we simply use it to set input enable. Okay. The important thing is to, of course, do this cast, and now get the component by class. Okay. This is always a floating pawn movement. If you use pawn, if you use character, is movement, okay? It's different. Set tick enable, and so basically we enable the tick of that component. Okay, so in this case, this is perfect, so we copy it and we use it also for the active, but of course we change the enable to false, and I would create disable input. Okay, compile and save. I know this tutorial is maybe too fast, but I recommend to simply switch to 0.5 velocity. Okay, if you have problems, comment below. So now we create a static mesh in the possessible object. A cube can go well. Okay, so basically compile and save, and also add our components, so possess component and also floating pawn movement. We want also to check, okay, the tick enable in our possessible object, so search it and simply disable it, okay, because we don't want it. We want to enable it with the function that we have already created, okay, in our component. So compile and save. Save very often. So now in third person you can go to our controller and now we can simply create our logics. Okay, so we get our imaging in play and create a variables that is basically our starting controller pawn. Okay, the pawn, we want to set it. To set it, we use basically like get controlled pawn. Okay, so the first, of course, is our third person character, or otherwise the starting character. Okay, we use it later. So you can add an event tick, okay, and this event tick we can use it with line trace by channel to simply create like a laser. Okay, so get also the controlled pawn, we want to set get the component, our component, the camera, and simply get the world location, okay, for our end, and also use it the camera, okay, for getting forward vector, multiply it for our value that is a float. Okay, this is basically the distance between the initial laser to the end. So now we use it to simply add it to our get world location. Okay, and this is basically the end. And for testing, I recommend to simply check, okay, the debug type. Now we can break this it result, okay, And we want to use like the it actor, okay? The actor that we hit with this laser. Okay, so we control that basically this has that component, okay? So with is valid, okay, we control that is not none, it's not null, okay? So basically with another variable we set our possessible object, okay? And we simply set it with it actor, okay? Of course if is valid that component. Now that I have already organized a little bit, and we get component by class, okay, another time. And yes, it's a static mesh component now, because we want to set the overlay material, okay? I want to create a little outline material when you simply want to select them, okay? With a condition also you want to control, okay? Basically if we can simply do it, why this? Because otherwise we want to control that is not equal to the possessible object. Why this? Because in reality, okay, otherwise you set the overlay material so much time, every frame, okay? We want to set it one time for every object, every possessible object, okay? So this condition is for that. We can move it a little bit. And okay, now duplicate it, because we want also to set the overlay material for the possessible object, okay, the last possessible object, okay? We want to set it to null because of course only the possessible object that we seeing in that moment has that, okay, overlay material. So I simply don't set anything like that, so it's null. Now maybe a little organize, okay? And after that, okay, we want to simply go here, file and save, and go in our content, input action, and now we want to create our input action. This input action is basically to possess, simply like that, and the value type is bool. Of course you can choose another thing, but in this case I don't think it's a very smart thing to do, so I choose pressed. And yes, this is an input action, so basically the input, okay, and of course you must mapping, okay, in the mapping context. So I will choose for that a key like F can go well, and of course you can choose another key, it's not a problem. So save. Basically when we press F we do something, okay? This is basically input action, and you can choose if it's press, if it's hold, or something like that. So when it's pressed, okay, we must control a condition that we do later, okay? And after that, if the condition is true, we want to get our possessible object and simply like possess it. Want to possess it, so basically move the controller, okay, to the other pawn. So simply colligate before it a cast, okay, because we want as pawn, not as other thing. Okay, so use as a pawn, okay, otherwise it doesn't work. Now we can move it and also unpossess, okay, the last pawn to do the thing in a complete way, okay. But we want us to change something here, because in reality we want to add something. So like another variable that is a boolean, we want to set it if it's seeing that object, okay, that possessible object or not, because maybe the line trace is something that is not, you cannot possess. So we use it to that condition, okay, and so when it's okay true, that works. So now we want to get component by class, okay, and we simply use it, our possess, to call our function and activate, okay, that object, that pawn. It's important. Otherwise, okay, the tick is always disabled. Another input action, and now it's not F, maybe G, because it's a return to our player, okay? Because we want maybe to return to our original body, okay? Our character. Always digital bool, and I choose always pressed, okay? So let's save it. Now, if you go to content drawer, of course you must mapping that, return to possess player. For that, I choose, like I said, G, but you can choose always another key, it's not a problem. So now we can search it and add it. So let's call it, okay? And okay, basically, when it's pressed, okay, when it's pressed the G, okay, we use a branch for a condition, and when the condition is true, we simply use it. Use the same code like this. So basically unpossess the possessible object and basically possess our, okay, player. Of course, it's not that, it's the active, not active, okay. And possess, I want to get our starting controlled pawn, okay. So compile and save, okay. Now we want to get our controlled pawn for the condition, and if it's not equal to our starting pawn, okay. So basically, if you control an object, okay, it's a different pawn to, okay, the starting pawn, okay, it's not a character, our character. So basically, condition can go well. Now we want to create another things. The blueprints go here, and basically in another folder we can simply change the materials, okay, because we want to create our outline material. Underscore, I call it outline material, I think it go well, okay. And basically it's the material that we, to indicate that the object is object that we can okay take, we can possess. So it's masked and lit and also two-sided. So I will create a two-sided sign, also -1, okay, and call it to opacity, okay, like that. Now also the vertex normal, okay, and this is called to multiply that value of the b, okay. We can use it like a parameter, okay. So you can call it to offset and the b converted to parameter, and of course it's not maybe b, it's line thickness, okay, you can call it because we use it later, okay. So of course the color is also a parameter, and I would choose like a red, or yes, this is go well, okay. So now, okay, if you go back in third-person controller, sorry, not character, you can choose outline material, okay, set it. Now we can move it, okay, and delete it in reality. Why this? Because in reality we move it to before, okay, before that is valid for our get component. Why this? Because otherwise, if you see another object that is not possessible, okay, the overlay material is always active and we don't want that. Okay, so this is for that. Also, the branch, we move it to something like that. So the it actor, because we also want to control, otherwise doesn't make sense. So we control it with isValid. Okay, maybe we can organize a little bit. So basically, if isValid our possessible object, okay, we set the overlay material, and of course it must be different to our possessible object, the last possessible object. So you don't use that code every time, but one time for every object. Okay, it's like an efficient way, I think. Okay, so we can move everything. Okay, and okay, now also colligate the false, otherwise of course have some problems. And yes, also maybe none when you choose none when you cannot debug, you don't have to debug. Okay, but if you want to debug, okay, choose it. It's a great option. Okay, that Unreal Engine have as sorry. So we can also copy the camera boom and the spring arm and the camera, okay, of our character. Also, I scale it to the pawn, and because basically there must be the camera, there be a camera, okay. In the event graph also we can copy in reality the move of our player. So in reality we do like a clone, but we have a static mesh and not a character, and it's a different object. So we copy this code in the move function, okay, and we simply create another function that is for a move, but in the possess object, okay, and we copy it. We simply have the same code, so yes, we move it, and okay, I will colligate that to add movement input, so it works. Now we want also the input, so the x and the epsilon, okay, that is there are a float. So save it always, okay. Colligate the x to the x, epsilon to the epsilon. Now, if you go back to event graph, okay, we can call our input action, that is basically move. When it's triggered, we simply colligate to move, and also we split the action value to the x and the epsilon, x to the x, epsilon to the epsilon, and it works. Okay, it's very easy. So we can do this not only, okay, for the movement, but also for the looking of the camera. Okay, if you want to move the camera with the mouse, okay, you can simply copy it and do the same thing. Is it like that? Now, another thing to do, I know, it's like to create an instance of that outline material. Why this? Because in this way you can use the parameters that we have created, okay? Otherwise, in reality, you cannot use it very well. It's very easy in an instance to simply change the parameters, and you can see the difference in reality. I choose 3 because, okay, I think the light thickness like this go well. You can change, okay, if it's not well. Now in the third person controller, so go in content and simply colligate the outline material instance, not outline material. Now we can test it, and if you point to that, yes, it works. Okay, you can move everything. Okay, there's no collision, but it's not a problem, you can add it, but it works. It's a basic system and it's very easy. Okay, I think I go very fast, I know, But if you have some problems, please comment below. And guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. And bye bye, see you next time.